Welcome to the Football Show on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and thank you to so many of you for joining the football family. And if you download the app, you'll get all the breaking news at your fingertips with our reporters right across the country and of course down south and across Europe as well. Today, Alan Ruff, Tam McManus, and I'm delighted to say our special guest is Dundee boss Tony Docherty. We've got so many tasks for you, Tony. Later on, we'll get your top 11 players that you've coached, which I was wondering when I sent you the text. I thought to myself, are you going to alienate yourself from a few people who are going, I can't believe you haven't?
Well, I'm going to mention a lot of people and then go for the ones I've picked.
32 subs.
Just to make sure. But a good question, that's a very good question. I was up all night.
Yeah,
trust me.
Absolutely.
So there's we'll get to that.
We've got lots to talk about, of course. First and foremost, Dundee. How difficult is it as a manager when you've set the bar high from season one?
Yeah, listen, it can be difficult. You know, last season we did fantastically well. I thought, you know, when I came into the job, it was well documented. I only had 3 signed players and one had a broken leg, which isn't a great start. And there was issues, and there was training ground and all that stuff. So to assemble a squad like we did and to have the success that we did, you know, because we had, I think in that squad of 24 there was 17 making a Premiership debut. There was 11 that were under 21, you know, and so to get the success that we got with that squad I thought was fantastic, you know, and then we lose in the summer there. We lose, I think, 17 players. So it's been a big turnaround. So, you know, it's a big job. It is a big job. I think the achievements of last year are, you know, fantastic. But it just kind of spurs you on to kind of go that wee bit further for this year.
Yeah, we knew you were doing well because obviously from your own point of view, Tam, you regularly call for managers to be sacked if they've gone 2 or 3 games without a win.
No, I wasn't with Tony last year, to be fair. No, listen, I think it was incredible last season. I think when you bring that amount of loan players in to gel them all together and get them into a system and get them all playing together, because you've all played with loan players or seen loan players, a lot of them don't bother, they're going back to their club anyway. But Tony fostered a real team spirit there, and it's difficult, as you said. There's another 17 left. A lot younger players come in this season, so it's been a difficult task this season.
Yeah, the only downside to it all, Tony, might as well, we can't be two-faced with you today. We're going to have to be right up front. Ruffy, you've been to Dundee with me commentating on a game, and you're not going back, and for a particular reason.
The particular reason we were right up the back of that stand, you know, and it was a gale force wind. It was just magnificent, and the guy we had had trouble keeping his hair in place. You know,
yeah.
We won't name Gordon in this.
And Ruffy said to me at half time, we're going to a commercial break.
It was a winter, it was December, it was freezing.
So
It can be cold.
Yeah, Ruffy said to me, I'm away at the toilet. I'll be back before we come out of the break. I says, absolutely fine. The bold Ruffy goes to the toilet with an all-in-one long john.
Under the gear,
Oh, that's no
It
easy.
was a shocker.
So 5 minutes into the second half now, and Ruffy joins us because he had to take all the gear off.
It can be cold. It can be cold there. But they're trying hard. You know, they've just announced there about the new training ground that's been approved, which is fantastic. Big news that for Dundee. Yeah. You'll know that if you've been there. So we should be moving into that in the summer. And obviously the next thing they're looking at, the big thing they're looking at is the stadium, because it's a realisation, you know, Dens is a very old stadium, you know what I mean, and on a match day, I know you're making a joke about it, but it's a very old stadium, you know.
Yeah.
So, but to be fair to John and Tim, they're really making ground on that, you know, and with the training ground now being announced, the stadium's the next thing, and big exciting times for the club.
Yeah, no, I'm not dismissing anything that previous owners have done. You know, you have good days and bad days running a football club. You make decisions that sometimes can go against you. There seems to be a calm stability and a clear strategy of where they want to go, which must be great for you.
It is great, because as I said, you know, when I came into the football club, and obviously Gordon Strachan, from my relationship with Gordon, worked at Scotland with him. You know, he was a big factor in me joining Dundee. But there were red flags there, no doubt about it. And as I said, I think other managers had maybe looked at the job and thought not. But you know, for me, it's a case of breaking down those barriers and working together. Really, I think there's real alignment at the club now that previously probably wasn't there. So now going for a position when we had 3 signed players, we've now got, you know, we're dealing with contract extensions of players now to try and get sustainability. The training pitch issue that we had now, we're moving into a new training ground, yeah, I mean, it's in an upward trajectory for me, and it's very careful planning by Tim Keys and John Nelms that they know the direction the club wants to go in it. Yeah, as manager, it's good to see there's that, you know, they share the ambitions that I have.
Would you like to see, you know, as we get more and more foreign owners in, would you like to see a Premiership game taken away and played in America?
I've not really got an opinion on that. I don't. It doesn't really bother me, but I know John's come out and said that. So listen, whatever's doable, you know how fast the game moves. You know, that might be something that comes into consideration. But for now, it's not really. It doesn't bother me either way.
Yeah. When you actually became a manager in your own right, what was the process there? How did that all come about? Because you and Derek seemed inseparable. Morecambe and Wise, Cannon and Ball, Derek and Tony.
Fran and Anna. No, listen, there was never any great plan, and I was really, really happy working with Derek, and it came as no surprise to me that the success that Derek had last year, because things were building there, you know, and he had a brilliant season last year, but as I say, no surprise with the way he works. But an opportunity presented itself, you know, and again, with the relationship I had with Gordon Strachan, and, you know, you think to yourself, and I was always in conversation with Derek about it, you know, that would an opportunity come along again, you know, I'm not getting any younger. I've never done it. So it was a case of, you know, I'd been an assistant manager with Derek for 15 years, you know, loved it, loved every part of it, but there was never any, you know, problem with that, and there was never any real hankering, to be honest, to go and be a manager. But when that opportunity presented itself, and I had a good chat with Gordon Strachan, to get the opportunity to manage in a Premiership club, you know, not getting any younger, as I say, then yes, there was some areas I had to explore. There was some potential red flags, but I thought, you know what, just grab the nettle. I always remember one of all these coaching courses that you go on, you know, you'd have various guest speakers. I remember probably the most inspirational for me was Walter Smith, and it was basic. You know, a lot of these people do the presentations and all that. It was basically go your gut, and I got that feeling once I spoke with Gordon and John. I got that feeling that it was a gut feeling that, yeah, there is a lot of hard work to do here, but the gut feeling was go with it, and I went with it, and thankfully to date things have went well, but there's still loads of room for improvement and development. There's
lots of questions all of us are going to ask you throughout the interview. We've got the utmost respect for him. I mean, I'm good friends with Gordon. He's just his absolute intensity in football is incredible, isn't it, Ruffy?
Yeah, and you've got to feed off that, you know, the amount of managers he's been with, you know, good and bad, but he's always got something to offer, and any time we've had him in, he's been great. So, you know, it's an opportunity, as you said, when you get to work with somebody like that.
Aye. I mean, one of the highlights for me was getting when I was at Aberdeen as assistant to get asked to work with Gordon in the national team, and we kind of established, I knew Gordon, but not that well, we kind of established a good relationship, and now he's, as well as being, he's a technical sporting director, but he's like a good friend, you know, and he's a really, really good mentor. And I always thought, again, a big thing going in my first gig in management, you need somebody like that, you know, you need that kind of support, somebody that's been there, and he's, the advice he offers me, and just the relationship I have him was a big factor in me going there.
Trust is a big thing with him.
Huge, yeah, absolutely huge. And he's a good person, but a massive football person, and yeah, I trust him, and we've got a good relationship together.
Yeah, what was it like picking your first team? That fear of suddenly, you know, you've got that role that you've become so familiar with over 14 or 15 years with Dell, and then suddenly it's, hold on a minute, I've got to walk into that room.
You learn loads about yourself, you know, but you always think when you're doing the assistant manager, because obviously you get your opinion, but the manager makes the final decision, you know, so get yourself in positions where it tests you, you know, you either sink or swim a wee bit, and there's loads of things I can look back on, and I thought, I never knew I had that in me, but it's that feeling that it's me. Yeah. You know, the buck stops here, and of course, butterflies, and you know, the thing is when you get a manager's job, nobody tells you, but the three things that you get Zopiclone because you never sleep, you get Zovirax because you always get cold sores, and you get the Nurofen because it's constant headaches. So that's what comes with the responsibility. But no, I enjoy it. I really enjoy it. I must say, I still to this day wake up every morning, can't wait to get into the training ground and start the job. I love the job. I love the players I work with, I love the staff I've got, and it's just, I think you need to have that, because it is such long hours and it's quite arduous. I think you need to have that passion, and it's something that, as I say, I still get excited every morning thinking I'm going in as a manager of Dundee.
Yeah. Did it totally exceed your expectations last season, or did you look at that side and think, well, wait a minute here, I've started to, because many a manager can have great plans or an ethos in the way he wants to play, but if you haven't got the players.
That's it, that's what it comes down to, and it was a really robust recruitment process in the summer. That was a real collective effort, you know, myself, Gordon and others with the recruitment team there. And I mean, it was daily, you know, because we realised the situation we were in. That's genuine, that was documented. There was only 3 signed players. So it does, some people look at that, I look at that as an opportunity, you know, that I can then bring in all my players, and the people, the contacts that I've got can help me to bring in that. And it just began to kind of take shape. And, you know, things like, for example, getting Owen, Beck, and through your contacts, getting boys like Malachi Boateng, and adding that to, you know, your Luke McCowans and Lyall Camerons, it started to all fit together, you know. So, but I mean, something we're trying to do is try and keep a kind of sustainability about it, because you can't do that every year. You know, we did that then. This year's been that as well, but we're getting closer and closer now. I mean, we're offering contract extensions to, there's 12 out of contract. But as I say, I lost 15 last year, but we'd like to keep that kind of continuity going.
How difficult has it been to replace Luke McCowan? You mentioned him there, obviously your captain, and how delighted were you to see him getting his big move to Celtic?
Absolutely delighted, brilliant boy. I remember a good conversation when he phoned me last summer when I went into the job, and he wasn't sure if he was going to sign his contract, because I think he came a wee bit to the end with the club. He was thinking and had a brilliant conversation with him. Luke was a winger, a wide player, but a frustrated wide player, because good footballer, but never got enough. He depends on service for midfielders, as you know, but kind of spoke with him, changed his game. I remember pre-season we played against Fleetwood, Bruni's Fleetwood down there, and I put him in the middle of the pitch. He played in a kind of a number 8 role, and he just, it's like a different way, and that's what kind of took it to the other level. And I gave him kind of responsibility, a lot of things in that as well, and he just grasped it. He was just ready for it. So him in particular has been a big loss. On the back of losing Joe Shaughnessy, who I brought in as my captain, Trevor Carson, who was my vice captain, you know, through injury, wasn't he there? And then to lose Luke, who became my captain as well. So I've lost 3 captains. So that's difficult, as well as the player. You know, he's got in the dressing room, he had a huge influence as well. So it is difficult that to replace, but there's good ones there. But it did, you know, the timing of it and all that as well. I think, you know, start of the season we were absolutely flying. You know, I think we scored the most goals in Scotland and all that kind of stuff. And Luke was a huge part of it. So when you take that out of your team, it is hard to replace. But I believe I've got boys that are stepping up and will continue to step up. But as you'll know, it doesn't happen overnight, that.
No.
Yeah, we watched, I was up there for the Duberry, and he was in the middle of the park.
Aye.
And there was all that speculation. How did the conversation with him go, Celtic are interested, did you think, or do you think he's going to play, he's going to become a regular? What does he have that suggests to you he's a Celtic player?
I think he's robust enough for a start. You know, he's the technical ability, but he's just got a belief. You know, he's one of the ones that everything I get, and I gave him much more responsibility, obviously, when I'm captain of the club, and he was ready for it. And I think he's now, when you look at him playing with Celtic, you know, every time I see him, he's in the style of play, he understands their style of play as well, and the movement, the runs, you know, they do the wee runs down the side of half speed. He gets all that, and his game intelligence, I think, has come up hugely. So I think he's a player, and I see him now, a player there that's just at that stage where he's getting better and better and will continue to improve, and that's down to his personality. You know, he's not a boy that was going to sit there. That conversation, as I say, I had with him in the summer, it was all about, you know, I really want to go further, and I always say that to boys that you try and sign. You know, if they're just coming to sign with Dundee, you know, you want them to sign with Dundee and use that as a platform, because you want them to better your team, you want them to better themselves, and everybody wins at it. That was very much what Luke McCowan is, and because of what he's done, and he deserves all the credit, he's now got himself where he rightfully should be playing, and I think he'll do really well at Celtic.
Have you got good Scots in your maybe coming up from the youths that can maybe make an impression, that can maybe be a Lyall Cameron, a Luke, you know?
Yeah, there's an exciting group coming through now, and this is something that the new training ground will really help with. You know, the fact that there's a training base that for us specifically, but there's a good batch coming through. But I mean, but behind Luke even now, you've got, as you mentioned there, you've got your Lyall Camerons, Josh Mulligans, Finn Robertsons, you know, who look at Luke, you know, because he's that wee bit older, and see there's a pathway. You know, and for the younger ones as well, see there's a pathway. But listen, Luke deserves all the credit for it, because he's been, for day one, you know, he took it. Sometimes with players, you know, the penny drops at a different stage, you know, and Luke was a talented footballer. I think he did need to get in the middle of the park to express himself more as a footballer. But he's training every day, his standards, his maintenance of his standards, he's actually inspiration to others. You know, that's what we miss, you know, on the training ground, that he drags people through it and that as well. So he deserves all the credit for that.
Maybe similar to the Paul Hartley situation, where I think it was at Billy Stark that put him in the middle of the park for St Johnstone. And I played with Paul at Hibs, and he was a frustrated winger as well.
Aye.
But put him in the middle of the park, and he gave moved to Celtic.
We had the discussion the other day there about young kids coming through, and there's Thomas kind of stats that they're not coming through as quick. Do you see a reason why they're not coming through?
There's possibly the stress of the league, you know, that how many players do you get opportunity. It's well documented again. I've got quite a bit the youngest team in the league, and I had last year as well. And I've always been of the opinion that if they're good enough, they're old enough. But and I'll play boys on merit. You know, if Lyall Cameron's an example of that, Josh Mulley and Finn, they'll play because they're the best players in that position. But I trust them. I think you need to have a trust in them, but I can understand managers that you maybe go with a bit more experience because you're scared of your position in the league. So, but I think given the opportunity, you know, the benefits you see with some of the kids, that some of them are fearless, you know, they'll go and... But you know what, there's other sides to that as well. At the moment, you know, I've got a very young team, and particularly when it's a young defensive sort of, they'll make mistakes. I think what you need to realise is part of the education is they will make mistakes, but it's how they learn from that. And that's the thing that comes, how much leeway do you give them for making mistakes? Because if that impinges on you losing football games, then you're going to do something about it.
Well, we had Stephen Robinson in here, and he says, it's all great, you know, you're calling for me to develop youngsters in a league where, you know, sometimes the 8 of the league is fighting to avoid that playoff place. Yeah. But he said 3 games in it, you know, the way the game's going now, 3 games, 3 losses, people are calling for the sack.
That's it. And that probably is the pressure rate. But so, I mean, I'm just very much that I'll put in the best players, and it just so happens I've got good young players, you know, but that does encourage other young players, you know, it does give them, as I said about Luke and the other boys that I mentioned as well, it does give them role models, and it's a pathway for them as well to think, if I really graft during the week, you know, in training, do everything I can, and I get that opportunity, I'm going to take it. So that's kind of... That's what I'm looking for, and that's what I'm looking to develop in the squad, and that's what we've got at the moment.
You mentioned Gordon Strachan and the trust thing. I'll often say to Ruffy, you know, growing up with your mates and anybody who was from your area, your village, you grew up with them, you stick by them, you don't go against them. When you get to a situation where you've grown up with a lot of people that you know in the East Kilbride area, and there's a real sense of togetherness, are you surprised one of them has been a dissenter and tipped Dundee to go into the playoff place? Has that shocked you? Did that shock you? You know, is there any meeting in the East Kilbride area about it?
I think there's a wee meeting in the Monty Jail at the weekend, and I think we'll be having a wee chat about that. I mean, just, over a Guinness.
You know, you used a word before you come on here. It's treason.
Treason. There you go.
I'm never right, so you're
right.
You thought you were going to get away with it, didn't
you? I did. I knew you were going to say it. You'd say that before you were coming in, Tony. Listen, I just think there's 6 or 7 clubs down at the bottom of the league, and there's not much between them. And personally, I think Hibs and Hearts will climb the table at some point. And honestly, I think it's a scrap between any 6 that can go into the bottom 2. I think it's so tight, Tony.
What would you change? What would you change about this league? Because I think we can sustain a 16 or an 18.
I think we can. I think the biggest part of that for me is the playing surfaces. You know, I think it should be in an elite league. It should be the grass pitches, and we're nearly that. But for example, you bring up Falkirk and other clubs like that are Astro. I think that comes into it as well.
Yeah.
So I would say, a bigger league would benefit everybody. It would benefit development of young players. It would alleviate that. I mean, the league this year is ridiculous how tight it is. It really is. You look at us, we're sitting in 7th, I think, now, but you're only 3 or 4 points away from the bottom. So it's really tight. So that kind of bigger league I would be an advocate of,
Yeah, because it gives you that chance to maybe get in that middle ground and just solidify, maybe throw in a few more youngsters in there that you don't have that fear.
Aye, it would do. But at the moment, it all depends for me when you go on a run. I mean, last year we went on a run, and it was after, if you remember, the Celtic game, when you asked me about highs and lows. That was a low. Looking up at that clock, and it's 6-0 at half time. I think we escaped the victory at half time. We're looking for the tunnel. So, but we came out, and actually after that game, that was what kind of spurred us on, if you like, because the next 3 games we won, and we ended up getting ourselves into the top 6. And that's what I'm saying. It's dependent on when you go on your run. The timing was right there. It was, I think, the 28th of February we played Celtic. It was a month of March that we went in that run.
Was that a learning curve?
Absolutely.
Was that why you were able to then go on the run? Because some people say you learn more in adversity than you do when you're constantly getting the good days.
I think it was. I think because it tests the resilience of your squad. It tests the mentality. And we'd had meetings about it. We'd spoke about it. And yeah, the boys did absolutely come back stronger.
See, when you get a bad result like that, are managers more conscious of looking at the fixture list? Do you look at the fixture list and say, 3 or 4 games coming up here?
Might be coming up. I think you do anyway. And for me, I take it in 3-game blocks all the time anyway. But yeah, you can. But how often have you seen it when you think, well, look at the run, and you end up, they're the ones that you pick up results. So I don't think there's a science to it, but it does come into your head, when you get a result like that. But as you said, and as I go back to talking about young players and all that, players will make mistakes, and players will get into situations where they don't do it. It's how they learn from it, and that's the most important. And that's what I'm trying to do at Dundee, and I think we had a successful time at last year where you develop players, for example, Luke and Owen, Beck, Malachy Boatengs, that have all went on to better things. They made mistakes. I can remember Owen Beck at St Mirren in one of his first games and against the boy McMenamin, and he was really poor. And the easiest thing would be to take him out of the team. Yeah. But we had a good chat about it, spoke about it, went through his analysis, what he can do better, blah, blah, blah. And that's when you find the real good players, the ones that learn for that, and they pick up. You tell a good player once, you tell a bad player 100 times. Yeah. But if you pick up on that right away, then that's the development. And that's something that we did last year. And it's something that we're still trying, because we're young now, we're really young. We've got a young squad now. You get young Billy Cometti at 21 and Ryan Astley at 22. And even the goalkeeper, John McCracken. So you've got a lot of young players with your Mulligans. But it's going through that process with them, and it's trying to eradicate the mistakes and learn from it and develop from it.
If you're a footballer and you're coming in and you're getting off 6-0, when we talk about levels, you know because you've got the experience to say, well, Celtic could do that to anybody. They've just, not that long ago done it to Aberdeen, who were riding the crest of a wave. How do you then try and say to yourself, I need to lift those players who are demoralised by an absolute doing?
I think you need to be honest with them. Players will see through whatever you're trying, and you need to take ownership. You need to be with them on that occasion. I don't think you put all the blame on them. I think for me anyway, if you go into that together as a team and say, right, what can we learn for that? Because it's not just the end of it. That's my first year as a manager, and it is a different gig, absolutely, from being an assistant. And so it's about going through that, but learning from it. And if you do that as a group, I think, from my experience, that's the way through it.
Do you sub people by somebody talking your ear? We often look at people who are getting subbed. Do you look at their stats during the game? GPS. Do you look and say he's dropped off, or do you still let your eyes
your eye. Absolutely, your eyes are judging. I know that might seem old school, and I know there's listen sports science and all that GPS stuff. It's important, and at the end of the game, for example, you can find out who's done their 12.5, 13k in a game. I know the ones that will do that. Because they do it regularly. I see them doing it in training, but I think your trained eye is the thing that, bases your opinion and forms your decisions, and I think it would always be like that, and then it can be complemented or supplemented with the sports science, but I think it always comes down to, what you see.
If you're old school, do you still go and see, how many times did you go and see a player before you thought about signing them? Again,
it's a bit different now that... I'd see them as often as I can. I'd try to see them live. But there was an example last year where you're saying, I had that situation where I only did 3 signed players. So much of my recruitment was done through Zoom and through Y-Scout, watching players, playing, because it was the summer. I would only have seen them retrospectively when they'd played. But a big thing for me was meeting the player, talking to the player, and when you can get face to face, that's the best thing. But nowadays, when you do it through Zoom or whatever, it gets you that feeling of the players, and a lot of the recruitment was done through that. So ideally, I'd like to go and see a player, but with the technology that you've got now, that comes into it.
Yeah, Y-Scout, you'd have had another 10 clubs, Tom.
I'd have had about 40 clubs if I had that GPS thing, because I would have done 13k in a season, to be honest. Listen, there's no hiding for it. Now. Tony, the staff, listen, you come off the park in training as well. You can't hide in training. Yeah. You can't just go and stand in a wing in training. You come in and your stats are there in black and white, and there's no argument with the manager if he says you're not working hard enough, and that's the reason you're not in the team.
Tony, I kid you not, and I'm not lying or embellishing this story. if you suddenly look then at people, how you go for long runs. If they were going for long runs and you suddenly saw that your goalkeeper was doing 25 kilometres at one point in that long run, would the alarm bells go off in your head? Because Ruffy used to get a taxi and then join them round the other end for Thistle.
We had the worst one. We heard through the grapevine a player, when players get given their belt to go or over the international break, right, do a session, sports science will monitor it and all that. We had a player who will remain nameless but who used to get the belt and wrap it around his dug and throw the ball back and forth to the dug. And when his results would come back in the sports science, he's working hard. I'll tell you what, the dug. I'm not out him.
That's a smart move, Ruffy.
It's fantastic. I wish I had thought of that. But I mean, I could never get my head around it turning up first day pre-season, you're away on a 5-mile run. And then the coach is going, everybody stick together. No, you don't even stick together in a marathon.
Do you think that's how it's changed, Tony? Obviously, when you were coaching earlier in your career and between then and now, do you think that's changed the pre-season? I mean, your first day in pre-season, what would you have done, the bleep test and other stuff?
It is, and it's the ball's out right away. Do you know what I mean? Whereas, you remember it yourself. It was...
I know, it was...
Hamburger Hill, all that kind of... You know what I mean? It was horrific, but now it's very sports science led, and it's the way it should be. And players are different now as well. So they don't come back. Yeah. They used to come back. Used to have your Yahoo in the summer and come back. Yeah. Good. But they don't. They get tested when they leave. Often they get tested during the close season, and they come back. They're all coming back of a level. Because if you don't, you don't play. Your midfielder stats what they should be. So if you're not at that standard, you're giving the staff, the management, an opportunity to play. And there is a bit of a sea change in that. I think that's where sports science has really benefited it. You don't see that anymore in pre-season. It is, it's not anything like it used to be.
We talked about it yesterday, talking about Tam's career and how there was a moment where there was a line in the sand where he thought, okay, I've left Hibs, and maybe that line of I didn't have the get up and go, the drive, the ambition anymore. What were you like as a player yourself?
I wasn't looking at Modric, I'll give you that. But as a young player, I was at Dunfermline as a kid, and then I actually went down to Cambridge United for a spell, and then I actually did my PhD at Jordan Hill, and I then went part-time. And when I realised I wasn't going to get to the heights, I was a young boy, won the Youth Cup with Dunfermline, all that kind of stuff, and you thought, right, this was going to be your career. But when you realise, and you're a lot later than me, I actually joined the SFA through Craig Brown, SFA Technical Department, when I was playing part-time and combining my studies. And I actually had to sign a contract. Jim Farry was the president at the time. I had to sign a contract to stop playing. So I actually get told to stop playing, or I'd have continued playing, and who knows. But that's so I signed that contract, and I joined the technical department in, I think it was 1995, when I was, 26, 20. So actually my career stopped then to go into coaching. And now I've been probably at first team level working for about 28 years. But at that time, that was the reason I stopped playing. Yeah,
and tell me this then, if you are immersed in that structure of the SFA and the template of coaching and how you put, a team together, formations, and all the processes that go with that coaching course, are you a manager who can live with can you live with a James McFadden? Or somebody that comes through who's special. Can you live with saying, okay, show us that wee bit of magic in the side, and if it doesn't go according to plan, then we all need to work harder to try and rectify the mistake?
Aye, I think, there's always room for, you want people in your team that can win you a game. If there's somebody in that, I think it's a lot to do with areas of the pitch. You don't want a centre-back that's doing pirouettes in front of your goal, but I always say for our attacking players, I'll never criticise them for trying something in the middle to attacking third, and these players, they thrive on that. You're kind of maverick players, and I've had them, but I always say you try it in certain areas of the pitch, and no, of course, every team you need to work together out of possession, so can I not tolerate that? Everybody needs to work together, but in possession, go and be what you are, go and be as creative as you want to be.
Yeah, how you were going to say something?
I was going to say he's got one, and we tiff. when we had him at Partick
100%,
Thistle,
yeah.
you knew what you were going to get. You were going to get a good day. You maybe not get a good day, but on a good day, he gets people off their seat.
He does.
He's got everything. He's got. You want him to get the ball. You want in that last third. You want to get there because you know any fullback is going to have problems with the pace that he runs it and the ability he's got. And I think we had him at Partick Thistle, but you've moved him on another bit. You know, and
he's a good
it's
player.
super.
What did you do with him?
I kid him on, but he gets people off their seat and he sits them down again. He'll not like me for saying that, but it actually reminds me because all he wants to do is one-on-one somebody. And it's a dying art. You know, he wants to get people one-on-one.
I love that, do you know?
Well, do you know who it reminds me of? I worked, when I went straight into coach Mellick, wee Crunchy, Kim McCowan.
Oh, brilliant.
I remember the first time I seen him, and it was one of my first signings. Joe Shaughnessy was my first signings captain. Tiff was my second, because I'd watched him at Partick that year when they got beaten in the playoffs. And I remember going and watching him with Gordon a couple of times and thinking, Jesus, it reminded me so much of Crunchy, that he just wanted to get it and face up people. And that's it. And same I'll say to him. And one thing about him that he's really developed in his game is he didn't do the work behind the ball out of position. He's doing that now to get the opportunities.
Yeah.
And when he gets the opportunities, go and fill your boots, go and be with your, do you know what I mean? And he does that. He does that well.
Because I spoke to Moisey, and when he had James, he said James was very much that type of player. He'd get the whole of Goodison Park off their seat because he had that wee bit of magic. But when the magic was in the wrong area, suddenly he says there's 9 of us having to go that way.
Aye.
You know, and all of a sudden the team is quickly back into their own third.
Aye. But it's end product with these type of players. You know, there has to be an end product. And listen, if they did it every time, he wouldn't be at Dundee. Do you know what I mean? But it's encouraging them to do that in the right areas of the pitch, as you say. But no, I'll always have space for players like that in my team because it is an entertainment, and punters do like seeing that. You say that right away there. You can't beat when you get somebody one-on-one to take them on, and more of that the better.
Would you like to, is there a difference between the practicality of the game and getting results? Because this is Gordon's catchphrase, if you want to avoid any real kind of a hassle, win, and then win again. Right. And if you can entertain, that's a bonus.
Aye, that is a bonus. But I think last year and what I'm trying to develop now, we do a lot of kind of parts, is having a style of play as well, you know, and sometimes that'll go against you. So the ideal is winning with a style of play. But listen, I'm big on, and I've always been like that with working with people, Derek, and all that. People talk about philosophies, and your philosophy's winning. And if you can win, I say that to the boys every week in the team talk, and I always want them to be brave and try to execute our game plan. It's a style of play, but win.
Yeah.
So if you need to abandon that to win, you need to do it because you need to win.
Yeah. Is there anybody in your career, even listening to Tell, is there anybody you've been in that dressing room and they've just basically been able to take the piss out? Has there been a moment in his dressing room where you
that's
think?
a strange question. I think Tiff scored it in him. I think Tiffany's got. There's loads of characters, but Shay Logan, he was a boy as well, but. I don't think you get better that way.
It's funny, I'm just wondering what your dressing room's like because, you know, Martin O'Neill tells a great story, you know, in one of the games he walks in and Bobo Baldo had Thelin Petrov 6 inches off the ground about to chin him, you know, and nobody was going to help Thelin.
No, he was a big boy, isn't he, Bobo? Imagine. Yeah.
No, your first team talk as a manager, were you nervous? Was it a different... You outside your comfort zone, obviously working with Derek for a number of years, being a number 2, and obviously you maybe had stuff to add after he'd spoke, but just going in there as a man.
Aye, but I think from my background, I'm a kind of educational background, I think as long as you're prepared, if you're doing any kind of and it is a presentation to the players, if you've done your research, if you've done your work, you've kind of rehearsed it and you're ready for it, then no, I've always felt comfortable kind of public speaking, you know, and having been in dressing rooms for.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think what you've done is you've gained the respect. And I've always said if you're in a team, when a manager comes through the door, if he's got utmost respect, it's a head start of where you've been, what you've done and everything. So any manager coming through there, if you've got a head start, it's always good.
Did Derek let you take team talks?
No. Derek was always he would set up the team and do the team meetings and all that. Sometimes at the hardest bit's being assistant manager because at half time you go, your notes ready, what you're going to say. And because Derek's that good in the game, you know, if he says it when he goes, Doc, and I go, fuck.
That's what I was going to say.
That's what I was going to say. I'm just going to reinforce what the gaffer was saying there.
Well done, Del.
But you need to come up with something, otherwise the boys go, come on then. What are you doing then? What's your job?
My favourite one was you remember wee Pat Quinn at all?
Aye.
Pat Quinn was Bertie Old's assistant, and Pat used to, half time, we would just stand there with the golf tee, you know, and we were playing it in the old school. Now, I know you used to get boards and everything now, but we used to have a Subbuteo board.
Oh, aye.
You know, the old Subbuteo with the wee wobbly men?
Yeah.
And wee Bertie would come in and he'd move the men about. And he'd be moving about and thing, and then he would say to wee Pat, have you anything to say? And Pat would go, oh, I think Bobby Houston should go a wee bit wider on the left, you know. And wee Bertie would go, get off, Bobby.
Oh, brilliant.
You need a noise up. Another good thing about Liddell is, I mean, we've had him in here. I thought he was great as well.
Aye.
I mean, there must have been a special bond between the two of you.
Oh, you don't work for 15 years with somebody and share everything out with football. You know, a lot of life stuff we went through together as well. And it is a special relationship. Of course it is. It's different. The dynamic's different now because we're both Premier League managers. You know what I mean? And competing against one another. But you do, of course, when you've been working that long together for 15 years, and the way we met at Dundee United. You know, when I was under Ian McCowan, he came up from West Brom as a captain. So we formed that wee bit of a bond there. But then, you know, you've 4 clubs together.
Yeah.
And being like that every single day, you know, and family's been tight and all. Of course you do, yeah, of course.
What was the pressure like for you? Obviously, sometimes coming in mid-December, it's freezing, you know, you have to try to motivate yourself. And then Del would walk in and he's bronzed. I mean, it must have really pissed you off.
It did, it did. It pissed me off.
The big man looks. Did I tell you a great story about him? I hadn't seen him for years, right? And I was a reporter. I can't remember who I was working for, and we're trackside at St Johnstone, and he'd become the manager at St Johnstone, and he just walked up to me and he went, "Hey, you're a prick," and I looked and I went, "Hi, Del," and he went, "Do you know the last time I met you?" And I said, "No, when was it?" And he said, "You knocked me back at Toledo and Paisley. You were
You're the bouncer.
Oh, you were at the front, and by the way, he had a suit on. Oh, he had a suit on.
Aye.
He thought he was the bee's knees, but,
you say no.
but Monday night was really trendy. So I said, "No, Del, you're not
Right,
mate."
son.
He was absolutely raging. By the
I
way,
never forgot it.
nothing like holding a
Never
grudge.
forgot.
Eh?
Aye,
It's
exactly.
only 2-3-2 for either manager this season.
Madness.
Was there a few texts going of it, or a few bit of banter going after the games, or was it just...
Aye.
It's incredible, 2-0, isn't it?
I know last year it was all 2 eaches,
Yeah.
apart for the Scottish Cup game, but just madness, because it was just an exact reverse of what the game was there. But I think it just kind of illustrates the competitiveness of the two, and that was always the thing between us. You know what I mean? And everything we had, we used to spend hours when we were at all the clubs that were at playing head tennis when the players went away and fucking proper competitive. I remember at Aberdeen when it was myself, Del, Barry Robson and Paul Sheeran. Honestly, we'd play for 2 or 3 hours doing in that wee bottom gym.
Yeah,
You'd be knocking yourself against walls and hitting the pillars, but it get feisty, you know. It get a bit. So I think it's just the competitive side, you know. It's not even about. It's just you want your team to win.
Yeah.
And that comes through in the games, I think.
Did you like Aberdeen?
I loved Aberdeen.
Yeah.
It's a brilliant club. Brilliant. I really did. Enjoyed it. And I think we had a brilliant time there. There was a real sense of regret. I think we went too early, to be honest. You know, I thought there was more to be done, and we were in a good position when we did leave. But for the times that we had there, you know, I think it was 4th, 2nd place finishes.
Yeah.
Obviously, the one in the League Cup, all the European adventures that we had, and we just had a brilliant chemistry. We had a brilliant relationship with all the players and staff, and it's a special club.
You won the league. It was the worst game I've ever been in my life.
What was that one?
You won the League Cup.
Oh, aye, it was brutal. Nothing each.
And
The nae pace game. The nae pace game.
Time, and I'm thinking, oh, for
It was a slog. Oh, it was. It was.
It's just who
The
cares
game
when
was-
you win.
I know.
Yeah.
But the game was. Oh, it was horrific.
And Aberdeen's one of those cities where, and forgive me for this, I'm going to be bold with you. I thought you should have won the league. I thought Roddy Dyler's team was murder.
Do you know what? I think that, and I think Derek's it's well documented as well, that we lost our number 1 and our number 9 at a really crucial point of the season. You know, Danny Ward get called back to Liverpool for Klopp, and Rooney pulled his thigh in training at the same week.
Yeah.
And I think losing our 1 and our 9 really was the deciding factor, I thought.
Do you agree with me?
Aye, probably would, aye. Aye, it was a It was an
Chance.
Aye.
Chance.
Yeah.
I really thought you had momentum.
Aye.
And they were poor, and listen, the amount of players that say to me,
Aye.
they were off it.
Aye.
Even Gordon used to say them in international, and thinking,
Yeah.
what training are you doing?
Yeah. No, I think it was an opportunity, and it's bygones now. But remember the one you see lows and highs as well. Remember the cup final when Rogic scored in the last kick of the ball.
Yeah,
That was a low. Because I thought that game we had them then. You remember with the breakaway.
that's right.
And Bruni done actually brilliant to recover the situation. But that was the one that you thought. So that was a League one.
Yeah.
And that was a Scottish Cup one that you thought that get taken away from you. So
Immortality. And of course, Ruffy and I and Tam have great fun with the Dons fans now, because can you believe this guy? I mean, he's just, the Dons fans love him.
Oh, aye.
Johnny Thelin, I mean, it's amazing.
yeah, I mean, we were up there at the weekend there, and they were telling me that's the fourth sellout they've had that they've never had in their history. And it did affect it. I thought we were really good on Saturday against them, first half, and should have been, I mean, justified a couple of goals up. I thought Simon unfortunately misses a penalty, but things are going. There's a real kind of feel good about it. And in the second half, when they get their goal against and score, you feel the stadium. You do feel as if you're playing against the stadium a wee bit. And listen, he brings on 2 subs and they score right away. But credit to them, absolute credit. They're in the position they're in now. And let's see how long they can maintain that for.
Yeah. Did you like the whole procession thing, the League Cup, everything? Because that's the great thing about that city. If you win, there's such a great club.
Oh, that day was incredible. I never thought for him. I remember Sky were in the next day, and all the boys were in. We're doing a procession, and we were watching the Sky TV in the players' canteen. I think there's nobody here. This is going to be embarrassed. I remember we did it before, me and Derek, when we won the league with St Johnstone. We went to tour of Perth. There was nobody there. But when we did it, when we were at Aberdeen, we went up the top of the street, and we thought, if you're watching the pictures in the canteen, we think, I don't think there's going to be anybody here. When we got up the top, I can't remember what street that is, Holborn Street or something, and you came down on Union Street. Honestly, it was ridiculous. It was that shot that you get at the London Marathon. You just see it just all heads, but people hanging out the buildings and all that as well. And that was incredible, absolutely incredible.
They're crying out for it. Of course, the other good thing about it as well, and this is where I was talking about, you were talking about John and Tim at Dundee. You had a good board up there. I mean, we liked Stuart Milnes. Stuart Milnes was a thoroughly decent guy. And of course, you've got wee Craig there as well, who's magic. I mean, we love Craig. His patter was magnificent. His zest for life. But by the way, the one thing I would say as well is he's a good coach. He knew his stuff.
Absolutely. There's a real thread through my whole career with Craig. As I said, the reason I went on the coaching journey I went on and I stopped playing was Craig. He was SSP, was Jordan Hill as well. And when I was there, he used to come in and I don't know if he's seen something in me, but he then took me into the technical department, which at that stage it was myself, Eric Black, Tommy Wilson, and then you had your Frank Coulson, Jim Fleetons and all that. And it was a big thing, but Craig had seen something in it. And that was at a time, Euro 96, France 98, when the place was buzzing. And Craig, if you remember, was the national team manager and the technical department director.
Yeah.
He held the two. But it was brilliant. I remember I would go up some nights at Park Gardens a Friday night and everything would be dubbed up. And Craig would be sitting down with the 2 TV screens, basically doing analysis, way back then. So he was ahead of his time, I thought, Craig. And there was always a thread throughout my career, because so that was the SFA thing. Then I moved to Falkirk, and then when I went to Aberdeen, obviously we took over from Aberdeen, and he was always there, Craig, and he was always, again, somebody regarded as it was a bit of a mentor, but he was a friend as well, And miss him, because right the way through there wouldn't be anything that happened in my career. He'd be the first one on the phone.
Absolutely, he's a thoroughly decent man. We loved him, Ruffy.
Yeah, it was great to be in his company, and some of the stuff he used to come away with. I remember we were playing Germany or something like that at Hampden, and he came out after the game. I think we get beat 2-0. And the first thing he said to the reporters is, we 2 corners more than them. The nationality. Do you know how many people live in that country? He always said something.
He liked his stats.
But he could back it up though, because got us to a World Cup.
He did.
We're still craving it.
Yeah, that's right. He did.
He's certainly a top man. Before we finish, we've got still a few questions to go with you, Tony. We're delighted that you could join us on the programme. I threw it to you last night, sent you a text and said, look, you've got to come up with the best 11 you've coached. and it's a tough one. So, are you going 4-4-2?
No, I'm going to go through I'm going through goalkeepers, defenders, midfielders, wingers, and strikers.
Yeah. What's your formation?
I'll get back to you on that.
12, 13, 12. Didn't want to leave anything with it.
Well, a back four, first of all. So
Yeah.
a goalkeeper, first of all. And the ones I mentioned, and I need to mention the ones you've worked with: Danny Ward, Craig Gordon at Scotland, Joe Lewis, Trevor Carson, and John McCracken at the moment, good goalkeepers. David James at Bristol City. You know, David James was
That's a
a
good
goalkeeper.
name drop. Yep, happy with
that was there you go.
Big guy.
But just after, I think just after the World Cup he signed with him. But it was kind of at the end of his career, David James. But and he used to do that thing. See that VMBR thing, that visual motor thing.
What's that?
It was all visualisation. So he actually just
He's training.
He used, no, in the games. He used to watch. See, warm up. He used to warm up without a ball. So we're doing all that, catching it and throwing it.
Yeah.
And the big goalie coach.
Bertie was ahead of his time.
Way ahead of his time. This was about 1970 or something. We were playing Rangers in the afternoon and we come into Firhill in the morning and he goes, right, we're going to try something new here. And we says, what is that, boss? He says, we're going to train with the invisible ball. And I says, how's that work? And he goes, well, you've got the ball to start with. You throw it out to John Hansen. John Hansen will then feed the invisible ball into Ronnie Glavin. Ronnie Glavin will push out wide. Bobby Houston will run to and he'll cross the ball. Or do something, I'll hit it in the net. All right, okay. So I've got the imaginal boss. I throw it to him there. Bobby Houston goes down. We try it 2 or 3 times and he goes, that's 3 times you put the ball at the bar, Bobby.
Visualise. Do you think he was nuts when he said that to you?
It was, but it's something that he did through his career. He was always a wee bit kind of out there, JMO, you know what I mean? And he was just at the end of his time, but he used to come out and he would catch it and throw it and squeeze everybody up. And the big goalkeeping coach at the time, with Nigel Spinkner, but it was before Spinkner, the guy Stuart Naylor. He used to kind of stop and watch.
Ruffy does that visualisation now in front of the mirror. You ever seen the movie Shallow Hal? Ruffy still thinks he's 23, 13 stone 5.
Too many mirrors. Tom Shaper's mirrors.
So you've sucked up to 4 or 5 that are not in the team.
I would say probably goalkeeper. You don't coach them because it's goalkeeper, but it'd probably Danny Ward in terms if you're going to be ability-wise would be Danny Ward.
He was a good goalie.
Very good. Yes. And I say that season that you mentioned, I think that was a big factor. I think him getting back to Liverpool at that stage and Adam Rooney doing his thigh, I think that was a big contributor to us not.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that because I did see you. I just actually thought that season, this is it. This is they've got a great chance.
I don't think I'm always well behind the scenes, as you said as well.
Yeah.
With the coaching staff and stuff, so yeah, probably an opportunity missed. A lot of Aberdeen fans would probably look back on that and think maybe an opportunity missed.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, keeper.
Keeper in there, back 4-1, probably ones I would throw in. We Shay Logan as a right back at Aberdeen. Scott McKenna, obviously. Jordan McGee comes in it as well. Jordan McGee's a good player.
Yeah.
Owen Beck.
Is that your 4?
As a left back. No, I'm just going to give you names. And Joe Shaughnessy, obviously my captain, as a centre half. Yeah. Another one to fill that centre half role, Michael Duberry or Big Yogi at Falkirk.
Michael Duberry at St Johnstone.
Michael Duberry at St Johnstone.
Yeah.
And Big Yogs at Falkirk. And you'll know. Were you at Hibs at the time when Big Yogi, the story about Big Yogi when he clipped his cell onto the roof?
No.
Big Yogi was always a bit kind of like JMO. Always looking for the next breakthrough thing, and it was a wee guy, Tam the Kitman, I think, told me this.
Tam the Cop.
He was always been his fitness show, so he clipped these things and with his feet he would go up and do his kind of sit-ups and all that, right? So he was doing him, saying, look at me, this is me, this is why the yogis. and the wee guy, Tam the Kitman, he got all the young boys, he says, come on, I'm going to switch the lights off. Right, and we'll leave them hanging up there. Every one of you get a ball and just rattle it. So Big Yogi shouted, wait till I get down. Yogi was brilliant.
Were you at Falkirk when, I loved his Stainrod story. When Simon Stainrod, said he was into the jiu-jitsu or the karate or something like that. And Yogi went in bollock naked to the shower and battered them.
Well, Yogi and Coyle took him there, obviously, and they were best mates, and he was a massive part of that era. He was a captain that won the championship. They owned Coyle as well. They were a big part of that. And so it would be I would probably go between Shay and Jordan McGee at right backs. Definitely Scott McKenna, one of the centre halves.
Right back.
because he's in my team now, I'd go John McGee.
John McGee, right.
Right, Scott McKenna, Owen Beck, obviously his left back, and then between Yogi, Joe Shaughnessy and Michael Duberry, I need to go Joe Shaughnessy.
Yeah?
Aye.
Wow. What does he, how does he edge it?
Just because personal, what he's been for me. You know, these other ones, you've got Big Russell Anderson would come into that as well.
Yeah.
He was a great captain and all that. But Big Joe, for what Joe's been, you'd asked me the question, who would be my ones I've coached.
Yes. Joe's
been inspirational for me. Unfortunately, he's injured now, but he'll be back soon. And he's been great for me. He's my first signing. I brought in as captain and he was a big part of last year.
If he's back for you, how soon do you think?
I'm hoping, you don't want to put dates on it, it puts him under pressure with a player, but hopefully after the new year.
Do you think that could be crucial and pivotal? Obviously, January, you're going to try and duck and dive as a manager and get players in because you always want to try and, strengthen your side. Could he be, one of those massive...
Hopefully. No, hopefully he will be. If he's fully fit, he will be.
Yeah.
'Cause that's his character, that's what he is. He's a leader. And he's been brilliant for me and inspirational, I would say. And I think him getting back to his full fitness, I think he will be.
Just on that, before you get into the midfield, we've got 5 players picked. On that point, what's your ambition with Dundee? What can you do this year? What do you think you can achieve, knowing what you have available, knowing what you've lost?
I don't, and I said this last year as well, I don't want to make any great claims. I want to be competitive. I want to make sure every game we play this year we're competitive and see where that takes us. Tam mentioned earlier on how competitive the league is, so I think it would be folly to set yourself up now to say, we want to be this, we want to be that. So I want to be really competitive in the league. We got to the quarterfinals of the first competition, get knocked out with Rangers. I want to be really competitive in the Scottish Cup as well and see where it takes us.
I thought you played some good football at Tannadice and early in the season there.
Aye.
Is that what you want to do? Is that we were very critical of the league last season. I thought out with Celtic and Rangers and Hearts, I thought it was poor. I thought some of the football was poor, but I've started to see little green shoots of teams playing some nice stuff.
Aye. I thought we played a lot of good stuff and got a lot of plaudits last year because of the McCowans, Camerons and that, the way we played. And that's something as well. As I go back to what I said earlier on, that's the team thing, what you want to achieve, but you also want to achieve within the team to improve and develop players, and that's a big thing for me. As I say earlier on, I said we've done that with players like McCowan, Owen, Beck and Boateng, these boys. You want to do it with the Camerons, Mulligans, Robertson, so that's a big thing for me as well.
Are we too critical? Because we look and say Celtic of our Champions League, and then we look and we see everybody, Hearts blew it against 2 mediocre teams in the last 2 seasons, can't get into Europa League, missed £10 million. You know what I mean? Our sides out with the big 2 have been poor in Europe.
Aye. I want nothing more than I want the national team to be doing really well. I want all the European teams to be doing really well. So it is, you get yourself built up for it, and I don't know if it's I don't know why we don't win these games, but I just want to see them all doing well.
Yeah.
I don't think people realise how big Dundee is as a team. I think the support they've got on there and a successful Dundee team, you would see that stadium, that new stadium you're talking about. I think they're just crying out for a wee bit of success to get back in there.
Well, it'd be easier to attract players when you get that training.
Oh, aye, I think so. Yeah, that's something that definitely every player asks for, isn't it? Where do you train? So when you can show them that, then that is a big thing, yeah.
Yeah, midfield,
right. Midfield, I'm going to gain it. Well, obviously Luke McCowan, Lyall, Cameron. Mark Kerr was one that I took as a kid right away through Falkirk. Russell Latterby, I worked with Dundee United. Yeah. Charlie Miller worked at Dundee United.
I need honesty here. Did you have any nights out with Russell or Charlie?
I'm taking I'll let Tom speak about that. I'm taking the Fifth Amendment in that one. No.
He's so gifted, Russell, wasn't he?
Oh, unbelievable.
How good a player was he?
Unbelievable. Ridiculous. It's the fact he was so two-footed, wasn't it?
Yeah.
He just didn't know what way he was going to go.
Yeah. I remember Alec McLeish slotting him in training, came in and he was last in and first away. Russell, right, he wasn't a great pro, and that's coming from me. But anyway, he would come in and he would be the same gear on as last night and all that. And I remember one of the times he was having a bit of a stinker and Big Egg was on him. Mon, you out last night, Mon, need more for you and all that. So he got the ball and he done a wee step over right foot and put it in the top corner. And Big Egg says, you can't do that with your left foot, but and then the next minute, the same left foot, top corner, and just smiled. That big cheeser he had. He's probably the most gifted player I've ever seen, and one of the best in the night out as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Is he in?
No. Because of that. couldn't trust him off the ball. But there's a midfield. You had Christie, Madison, McLean, Jack.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Aberdeen. So that was a good four. But do you know what? I couldn't see. But it's a hard one. This. I need to put McCowan in it. I probably need to put Cameron in it, and then it's a choice between Christie, Madison, McLean, and Jack.
You're putting McCowan. And
I'm putting
Cameron.
Christie in it, right? I'm definitely putting Christie in it.
Right, there's
Definitely putting Christie.
ahead of the others.
It's
Madison.
tough, innit?
He's hit.
But Madison was a lone player, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He wasn't there a long
Still
time.
coached them though.
I know. And that was a big education for him coming and playing with. Actually, the Kenny McLeans and Ryan Jacks, they kind of told him a wee bit, when he
Did
came
you
up
try
to
and
our
get Ryan
place.
Jack when he was out of contract there?
I'd have loved Ryan Jack, aye, but he's I think he's went to where he's went to,
Yeah.
But Ryan Jack was a brilliant player, absolutely, and that was one thing. He played a lot at right back when we first started, but I think Derek recognised right away, get him in the middle of the park and he made him captain, and fantastic, brilliant football, Ryan. So that's a really hard area of the pitch with all the names I said. So who's my three?
You've gone Christie, you're playing Cameron, you're playing McCowan.
Kenny McLean or Jack or Madison.
Yeah.
You've only got one left.
Well, unless you're going to bore the arse off us with one striker.
Oh, could try that. Right, go and put in Jack McLean in. I don't know how this is going to work, this team.
You're putting Jack in,
Put in Jack.
right? So that's 4-4, and you've got 2 left.
No, wait a minute. I've not got my wingers yet. I've not even got my wingers yet.
No, you've not got enough.
Well,
You've
you
only
get-
got 11.
I've got Johnny Hayes.
Anyway, is this one of the warm-ups in the summer? You go, just go on, nobody will notice.
Well, I need to mention my wingers that I would have had. I had Johnny Hayes, Niall McGinn, or Wee Tiff. They're good wingers that I would have had in the team.
Yeah, but you've gone a rigid 4-4.
Well, leave it.
here.
Let's go 3 then. Let's go 3-3.
Right. You're going 3, so you're going Jack.
So
Right,
let's-
so you're going McCowan, Cameron, and Christie. That's what you said.
McCowan. I can't leave Leigh out. He'll not be happy with me.
Yeah,
But Christie, Madison, McLean, Jack.
I know.
Good players there.
Yeah,
Right, let's go. You get Jody Morris as well.
Jody Moore's a good player. Yep.
St
Yeah.
Johnstone.
Too hard that. We'll come back to that one.
Well, you've only got 3 then. You've got
Oh,
3
Shane will
then.
not be happy either. Peanut
Peanut-
will be happy.
Peanut will be
Right,
happy
well, you've
either.
got your 3 up front.
Well, you've got your wingers. You've got Hayes, McGinn, Tiffany. So you probably go out of them. You'll not be happy with Wee Tiff, but I'll go Hayes and McGinn.
Right.
And you're 1 through the middle. You've got a choice, right? I'm going to go 1 through the middle because that's all you're giving me. You've got Adam Rooney, obviously. You've got Simon Murray, Owen Coyle, Lee Miller, Colin Samuel. Wee David Goodwillie, Leigh Griffiths. He's one when I my experience at Scotland. Leigh Griffiths struck the ball different for everybody.
Yeah.
He had an unbelievable technique striking the ball with his left foot. And I remember we used to walk after training. Him and Craig Gordon would stay out, and it would just be free kicks. And the two of them, they were the two that when I come away from my experience at Scotland, I thought that was
Scary.
different from what I'd seen at club level.
Yeah.
And
See all those guys that you've mentioned up front. I've got one in my head, and I think there's no way you can't. There's one
all of them,
out of all those guys you've mentioned. There's one that is head and shoulders above them all.
really? Is he
Absolutely.
the oldest one?
Hey,
Is he the oldest one of them?
I'm just waiting for you to tell us. Sure, shout.
Do fish and chips before I give.
Is
Coyle.
it on the list?
You going Coyle? Coyle was ridiculous.
Coyley's outrageous.
Coyle was ridiculous.
We played in an Airdrie Legends game against this other team.
Coyle will hate me saying I coached him, by the way.
I know,
He
but
was just in the team.
I know. And that's why I was like, Coyle. But he played in the game, and within, I kid you not, 10 minutes he'd scored 5 goals.
He was ridiculous.
It was just outrageous. And by the
Right
way,
foot, left foot.
his heart rate dropped when he got in the box. He just go bump.
Yeah.
So
He was the best finisher. Any wee drills you would put on, and that was at Falkirk when it was Lee Miller, Owen Coyle, Colin Samuel. Any wee drills you'd put on, and even the strikers that you work with at Bristol City, like your Brett Pittmans and John Stead and all that, Coyle was the best. When you do your wee individual, your wee right foot, left foot volleys, blah blah blah, 1v1s. Coyle was the best.
Is he the man?
Absolutely.
because I need to text him.
No, Adam Rooney.
He's out. Rooney?
Aye, I was going to say Adam
Yeah,
Rooney.
yeah.
He done brilliant. He was brilliant. with
Adam
Aberdeen.
Rooney knew it was, and see that understanding between Johnny Hayes and Niall McGinn. Adam Rooney just knew where to be.
Yeah.
He just knew how to get into good areas, and he was probably the hardest working professor. He spent his whole week. He was limited in terms of his ability, but he spent his whole week, and because he took penalties, he would watch the goalkeepers. He wouldn't leave training until he'd done all his work.
And see that
Be ready
11
for
you've
Saturday.
just picked there?
Aye.
That 11 would allow you to go into the dressing room and do what Ruffy did for 3 years as the manager of Glen Afton.
Which is what?
Which is, right, boys, just look out and enjoy yourself.
There's the ball, go and play with it.
On you go. I don't need to go.
Scottish Cup win, Ruffy. Scottish Cup win for Glen Afton.
Get your cup, that's what I'm saying. You
Finals.
Easy job with that, innit?
who would you, I mean, what would you say? Would you be that
On you
alone?
go. On you go.
It's absolutely
it.
brilliant. Listen, we could have had a chat with you for ages. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I think a lot of Dundee fans will be enjoying it because I think they're in safe hands with you. Just to finish on that, it's a tough old season. I think they'll be looking and saying to yourself, what do you say where you are now and the capabilities when you've got players like Shaughnessy back and the ambition for January, because you will want to strengthen, won't you?
Of course we want to strengthen. We've fell victim a wee bit of some injuries we've picked up now, so it is a work in progress. As I said, that it's, we've got a young team, but it's our job to try and improve and develop them all the time. So I wouldn't go any further than just saying I want to be as competitive as we can be, and making sure that we're competitive in every league match, and there's a Scottish Cup coming around as well. I want to be as competitive as I can be in that. But if we can continue in the same vein that we did last year, then it's exciting, and it's really exciting. And again, I need to put a mention out to the forward thinking way of the club with John Nelms and Tim Keys and the new training ground, which is a game changer, I think, for Dundee, and the stadium on the horizon as well. It's a good place to be, and it's a club that I think is in an upward trajectory.
Yeah, and just before we go, obviously Ruffy and Tam and I have thoroughly enjoyed your chat. Best bit of advice you've had?
Probably that one. I said, the wrong go with your gut.
Yeah.
Because that definitely applied to why I'm in this position now. You can weigh up your pros and cons, but when there's a gut feeling about it, go with your gut.
Yeah, brilliant. Listen, Tony.
Thank you.
Top man.
Cheers.
Thoroughly enjoyed
Thanks,
it.
mate. Cheers.
Thanks, guys.